What's going on, y'all? I want to welcome y'all back to another show. Today's guest, we have Dr. Taneice Lewis, the business architect. So if you out here trying to start a business and you need some game, this is the lady y'all want to hear from. So make sure y'all tap in and listen because she's finna give us some jewels. So without further ado, how you doing, Dr. Taneice?
Good afternoon, Coach Wiggins. I'm doing well. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm very thankful, appreciative for you coming to jump on the show because I know my people will be able to learn a lot from you. Before I ain't gonna even say before we get started. Let's get started with this. You said you started in the thing. You said without no strategy, there's a lot of stress. What does that mean?
So when people fail to plan, they essentially plan to fail, right? So anytime you are working on something, you kind of have to have a plan in place or a strategy as to how you plan to execute that. How do you intend to get to the desired result, the
Hmm.
desired goal? And so when people don't have an actual plan in place, they're kind of moving around in circles. They're winging it. They don't have a roadmap, so to speak. Can you imagine? You're on the way somewhere in a car. You don't actually have a map as to how to get there. So you become stressed out. You become anxious, feeling like, okay, I don't really know where I'm going. And
Right.
so in life, that is how people are when they don't have a strategy in place to do the things that they set out to do. They're kind of wandering aimlessly. They're doing a bunch of things. They may be busy, but they're not productive. So without having that strategy in place that is going to give you the steps or the blueprint to get where you're looking to go, it does cause you stress, and that leads to just having a mind that is covered in a bunch of things that's not suitable, or that's not helping you to do and be what you want to do.
I love what you just said. So with like you just said with the mind, what belief or mindset shift most empowered you to become a serial entrepreneur rather than just staying in one lane?
So having an abundant mindset, feeling that I wanted to be someone who was in control of my freedom, meaning not just my, you know, not freedom in the sense of what you may be thinking, but freedom like my time freedom, my financial freedom,
Hmm.
freedom in every sense of the word freedom.
Right.
Having that mindset of wanting something that I couldn't see already, something that I had never seen around me when I was growing up. Deciding that I was going to be the one, the person that was going to break the mold, that was going to change the things and the trajectory of my life and the lives of my kids going forward. I felt like the mindset that I had to have in that time was a mindset of perseverance, determination, not just being motivated because that doesn't last, but being actually determined and just being disciplined enough to follow through on the things that I wanted to do. Being an entrepreneur is one of those things that's not easy. It's glamorified.
Hmm.
It looks glamorous, and people make it out to be a bigger thing on Instagram. They show you in social media. They show you the great parts of entrepreneurship, and the money part and the things that are on the other side of the work. But the work is definitely there, and it's a must. It's a process that can't be overlooked or
Amen.
denied in order to achieve it.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Was there a pivotal moment that cemented this belief for you?
Yeah. So when I was 14, my grandmother, who raised me at the time, I was having a conversation with her about my life and
Hmm.
about what I wanted to do with my life. And I expressed to her that I wanted to go to college. I watched my grandmother raise me and kind of take care of me since I was 2 years old. She had custody of me, and we lived together in a senior citizen home, a studio apartment. And I was the only kid in the whole building. She had to get, special accommodations for me to be able to live with her because she had custody of me. So she had to fight to get me in there because, again, it was a senior citizen home, so no kids were allowed. But she did what she had to do, and that created a very tight household for us. I mean, she was not financially in a position to take care of a teenager or a kid growing up needing things, having activities, or just needing extra money for all the things that I needed to do. So, when I was 14 and I was telling her I wanted to go to college, she was like, I don't know how you're going to get there because I don't have the money. And, we barely making it as it is. I definitely can't pay for you to go to college. And so I told her, at that time, I said, don't worry about it. I'm going to get there. And I was just trying to, console her or make her feel better about not being able to do this for me. But I honestly didn't know how I was going to get to college myself. So I set out to figure it out at that moment. I started thinking and talking to people, talking to my friends and their older siblings who were in college and just saying, like, how much does college cost? Like, what do I got to save? What do I got to do? I started talking to my guidance counselor, all of these things. But ultimately, I decided I was going to start working full time at 14. And so I did that. I made the necessary adjustments to certain documents that I had, and I got a full time job at 16. I'm sorry, at 14. And I started working from that point to save money for college. And so that was that pivotal moment where I made the decision. Okay, if I'm going to start early, I'm going to finish early. And the only thing that I really knew about that would get me to where I wanted to go was entrepreneurship. I saw people around me working nine to
Mm-hmm.
five jobs. They weren't doing anything that I felt was super, special or super, that was going to get me to where I wanted to go. I didn't see my reality, or not my reality, I'm sorry. I didn't see my future in them and what they were doing. So I
Right.
knew a 9 to 5 wasn't going to work. But I knew entrepreneurship was something that I could pursue because to me, it just felt like, okay, there's no ceiling to that. There's no cap as to how far I can go and how much I can do. And so I dedicated my life at 14 to just having a better life for myself. And I decided, like I said, if I was going to finish early, I would start early. So I started working at 14 at a full-time job, going to school, getting out at 2:30, having to be to work by 3, working from 3 to 11, doing my homework at work, and then rinse and repeat. Getting a ride home and getting home, going to sleep, getting up the next day and doing it all over again.
Wow. That's deep. I thank you for being vulnerable like that because that's a lot of people don't have that drive. So I can see how you got that resilience in you. Ooh, that's good. So you help guide others in building generational wealth.
Right.
What does that phrase mean to you, and what did it mean to you before your success, and how has the meaning evolved?
Generational wealth. That means it means being able to have something for the ones coming behind you, right?
Mm,
So as I mentioned, when I was growing up, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any inheritance or anything that I could come into. If anything, I came into hardship or poverty. I didn't come into anything that was going to help me in a positive light, right? So to me, generational wealth means just being able to provide, resources to your children or to your grandkids or your great grandkids, something, whether it's financial, meaning money, tucked away for school, for activity, for houses, to buy buildings or to build businesses. There's different types and ways in which people think about generational wealth, but to me it means just not having to bootstrap everything, not
right.
having to start from scratch in every aspect of life. And so there are some things that I have guidance on. There's some things that I have help with. That's what generational wealth looks like for me. It's something that lasts more and further than just my lifespan. So building generational wealth is creating something of a legacy, sort of, that is going to supersede me. So when I'm gone and my time has come, God's called me home, I'll have something that is still here that my kids can tap into, and they can continue to create this. They can continue to grow what I've started. They can keep moving forward with it, and they're not stuck trying to figure out you know where do we go. We have to start from scratch. We got to figure out entrepreneurship all over. We got to figure out business all over. No, I mean, generational wealth means I've passed things down to them. So it's not, to me, wealth is not just the financial aspect, it's knowledge, it's education,
Hmm.
it's resources,
Right.
it's real estate, something
Mm.
that it's ownership.
Right.
So it's more than just the financial aspect of it, but that's what generational wealth means for me.
You said legacy, sort of. No, it's a legacy.
Yep,
That's definitely a
right.
legacy. I heard you. We know
Definitely,
words matter.
definitely
We know.
legacy.
Okay, so going back, piggyback off the first what you said a minute ago because it was so deep and so good. How do you define resilience? And because you've been very resilient since 14, doing your thing,
Hmm.
and not just the buzzword of it, but the experience in your entrepreneurial path. How do you define resilience?
So for me, resilience is like the tenacity that you have in you. I don't think resilience is something that you can teach people, or
Oh,
that you can't do a class on resilience, right?
mm,
You can only pull out what somebody already has in them, which is part of the biggest part of the reason why I'm a coach, because that's what I do. I pull things out of people that they already have in them, not that I'm
mhm,
putting in them. But resilience to me is something that you have embedded in you. It's something that keeps you from accepting no, or it keeps you from accepting what someone wants to put on you, or wants you to have. Just, because sometimes people give you what they want you to have, not
right.
what you deserve, or not what you should have, or not what you've earned, and things like that. So resilience to me is fighting through all of that, fighting through just tough times, fighting through oppression, suppression, like, fighting through all the things, even the internal things that we deal
Hmm.
with, because sometimes we're not the pain that we feel is not always from the outside. Sometimes it's self-inflicted, right? So for me, it's fighting through anything that doesn't suit me, anything that is not what God wants for me,
Right.
whether it be mindset, whether it be my environment, whether it be my financial status, whether it be my house that I live in, whatever is not for me. Resilience to me is fighting through that to get to the other side. To say, I will not accept no for an answer. That this is not the end all be all of my journey. This is just the beginning of something that God has for me. So I've always been resilient. Yes, absolutely. I think that I was born to be who I was born for this. I was born for the fight. I was born to be a fighter, in so to speak. I was born to be someone who would teach people how to fight, teach people how to be resilient, teach people how to overcome obstacles, and find other ways. Also, resilience to me is being an out of the box thinker, right? Being innovative enough to see a situation for what it is and be a problem solver in that area. And figuring out, okay, just because it looks like that, how can I create something out of nothing? Right? How can I create this in a way that looks different than what I'm actually viewing right now? Whether it be a situation or whatever it is. So to me, that's what resilience is. Being someone who is just a problem solver, out of the box thinker, who does not take no for an answer, and someone who fights through obstacles and challenges to still get to the other side of what their goal is.
Just listening to what you said, the key word that I kept hearing you say up in there is somebody that's willing to fight. Somebody that's
Hmm.
willing to fight and they go fight no matter what. So that's very good. I love that you said that. Your book, Pray for Rain, teaches how to build business with little to no money. What's one unconventional strategy from the book that surprised you with how well it worked?
The biggest thing for me was my business plan. I had a full-fledged business plan. I believe it was about 32 pages long.
Hmm.
My first business was a salon and spa that I opened. It serviced everyone, but it catered to women who suffered from cancer, lupus, and alopecia. It took me 8 years to open that salon, right? So in those 8 years of constantly hearing no, of constantly, trying to figure out how I was going to raise all this money that I needed, of trying to get people to support me, and just figuring out the steps to being a successful, I said, let me write my business plan out. Let me write my blueprint out of, how I plan to achieve this. What are the steps? And once I get open, what does it look like? So I wrote a full-fledged business plan. I took a lot of time on it. I purchased a software that would put it together, the templates together properly. I worked on it. I revised it. It was a living, breathing document that I was constantly, updating and just improving on. And then once it was completed, I started to shop it around to investors and to organizations. And finally, I came across the Intersect Fund, which is a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit organization that kind of gives you funding based off your business plan, not off of collateral. I had just filed bankruptcy, so my credit was not good. I couldn't get a loan or credit of any kind at the time. I was working. I had just had my son, and I had just got custody of my little sister as well. So I had my funds were almost depleted. They were exhausted. So
Mm-hmm.
really, I said this business plan has got to help me in some way. So I wrote it, and then I took it around to shop it, and I came across the Intersect Fund, and I sent them my business plan. And in return, they gave me $7,500 to get started with my business off of a business plan, off of a
Mm-hmm.
document.
Right.
I had no collateral, I had no money to put up. I just simply had a vision. I
Mm-hmm.
had a vision, I had a blueprint, I had a framework of how I was going to do this. I had an out of the box idea that was needed. I found something that was needed, a niche that I could really go into, that I could expand and help people in this industry with hair loss to figure out solutions to their hair. And because it was so detailed and because it was so good, I was able to get funded for it. And that was one of the biggest
Wow.
things that that I teach people about building a business with little to no money, is because when you don't have the resources, you got to be willing to outwork people. You have to be
Ooh.
willing to do what others won't, because your sweet spot, your kryptonite, your superpower is going to come from you doing the things that others are not willing to do. So even though a lot of people are in business, a lot of people don't have business plans because they skip over, once again, they want the glamorous part, but they skip over the work. And there's nothing really glamorous about writing a 30-page document and having to think about marketed analysis and competitors and target market and all of that stuff, but you need it. it's
Right.
not it's not glamorous and it's not fun for people to do, but it's necessary. And just off of that, I was able to get funded for it. And then I took it a step further and I said, let me become an expert at how to do a good pitch, because I never know when I'm going to be in a room with someone that is going to have the ability to be able to invest in me, but not the time to sit and listen to me for an hour talk to them about why they should invest in my business. So I perfected my elevator pitch. I got it down so good that I could tell you in 30 seconds what my business was, what it did and what I needed. And that allowed me to also get win elevator competitions where I got money off of that as well. So, having an elevator pitch, having a business plan, those are two of the biggest things that helped me to get funded when I had no money.
Wow. You have like a different level of resilience because, like you said, most people don't want to, that work that's unseen, most people don't want to put that in. Everybody's chasing that, like you said, the other side of it, the glamorous side. But I'm glad that you're on here telling people that because that stuff actually matters. In the Bible, write the vision and make it plain. You
Hmm.
wrote the vision though, 32 pages. Ooh, Lord. I,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, just a quick one. How long did that take you to write?
Oh man, it took a while. I don't know. I mean, I can't even tell. I don't even really remember how long it took, because again, I was in the trenches for 8 years. I
But
was
it
just
took a
waiting
while.
for my
That's my
time,
point. I
hitting
just
in
wanted to
plain sight.
yeah, I just wanted you to say it took a while. It wasn't
it,
overnight.
it took
They
a
need to
while. I
understand.
mean,
Exactly.
yeah, it took a while. Maybe a good part of that. Maybe a good part of that year, one of those years, I would say. So maybe about between 6 to 8 months, I would say it probably took me to complete it all together, but from
But you
start to
chased
finish.
it down. You chased that thing down.
Hmm.
Congratulations, girl. Ooh, that's what it is. What's a
Thank
system
you.
or daily ritual you teach your clients that's deceptively simple but radically effective in the long term?
I think it has to be the idea of running your week. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that I recently learned or had language for. I was
Mm-hmm.
already kind of doing something like that, but putting it into a framework that made, that was even more clear was something that I just recently was able to do. So it's a simple framework about running your week, about how to name your days. You tell your days what to do. If you don't tell your days what to do, you're going to wake up and wonder where your days went. And so I teach clients something very simple about, because I'm a serial entrepreneur, right? So I don't just do one thing, I do multiple different things. And people are always asking me, how do you do all of the things? How are you a business coach and a speaker, and you have an event space and a mother and a wife? How do you trade? How do you do all these things in a week? And writing, working on a book again. How are you doing all these things? And it's because I actually do name my days. So I have different, every day of the week suits me in a different way. So every day has a different assignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some days, Monday might be my day where I'm doing content, where I'm
Mm-hmm.
preparing content. So I may be doing some recordings. I may be trying to think about, how I want my social media to look for like the next month, because I manage my own social media accounts currently. Or I may be just kind of researching the topics and things that I want to talk about, but I'm pretty much planning out my content on Mondays, right? So then there's Tuesdays, and Tuesdays is more so for, those are days that I take coaching clients. Mainly, I try to stick to Tuesdays. So those are days that I take clients for coaching, or I'm working on, new calls. So if someone is booking a discovery call with me, they probably would have to do a Tuesday. It's a little bit more flexible than that, but I try to hone in everything on a Tuesday. So anything coaching is on Tuesday. I'm meeting with my assistant on Tuesday to go over, what to-do list I need her to do for the rest of the week and the weeks following. Wednesday is usually writing Wednesday, so I'm usually working on my book on Wednesdays. But I found that my writing style is a little bit different. It's challenging for me to write on a during the week, because I have so many other things going on, and I need no distractions on those days that I'm writing. So I just recently went on a writing retreat, a 3-day writing retreat, where I turned everything off. And so sometimes you'll have to have, your schedule may be set, but sometimes you have to do something radical, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you may have to go away for a couple of days and say, and no phones, no calls, no texts, no nothing. And I did that, and I was able to get like 8 chapters done. So
Wow.
um the book is almost complete, but that's usually Wednesdays is my day. So now that I've gotten most of the book done, I'm really refining on Wednesdays now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thursdays is, I teach classes on Thursdays. I'm doing stuff related to my speaking on Thursdays. So every day has a assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And every assignment goes back to my bigger goal. So I teach people how to have a big goal. Like, what's your big goal for the year? Some people don't plan at all. Like, they have no vision for their business. They don't have a financial number that they're looking to reach. They don't have a client number that they're looking to reach. They just happy to be in business. So it's like, okay, but how do you know if you were successful? How do you know if your business is going up or down? Like, how do you know what progress you're making if you don't have any goals? So I teach clients to make a big goal. So what is it
Mm-hmm.
that you want to see at the end of the year in 2025? And then you break that down into quarters. And then you break that down even more. You refine those quarters into a monthly thing. And then that run your week framework that I was just mentioning, that helps you to do it on a daily basis. So
Mm-hmm.
that every single thing you do every day, is going back to the bigger goal. And if it's not, then it's something that you shouldn't be doing. That's how you determine what to say yes to. If somebody calls you and asks you, can you do this or that? You got to look at your schedule and say, does this help with the goal? If it's no, then I may have to figure out, maybe a Saturday or Sunday or whatever is your down day. But if it's during your productive days, then it's a no. So it helps you to kind of, again, have that map, have that framework, that roadmap as to where you're going in life.
I'm so glad you said that, and I appreciate you. That's why, hey, I hope y'all getting something from what Dr. Taneice is telling y'all, because it wasn't easy to get on this show, because I know she busy. She be making it happen. Y'all better check in with her. I'm telling y'all. With over a decade of experience scaling businesses, what would you say are the three silent killers that are um, great ideas before it gets traction? Si- the
Wait,
silent killers of great ideas before they start to get traction.
the silent killers of great ideas. What are three silent killers? One is imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
right? Thinking
Sure.
that having the idea and feeling like, okay, I can do this, but then there's that voice that creeps up that says, can you really do this? Are
Mm-hmm.
you really good at that? Like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you don't have this certification, you don't have this behind your belt. Who do you think you are to do that? Type of thing. So imposter syndrome kills you before you even get started. Imposter syndrome is something that people deal with all the time, and I don't think everyone has language for it. Everyone doesn't realize that that's what it is that's happening to them. And I found myself having to explain to a lot of people, like, you might be dealing with imposter syndrome, and they're like, what's that? And when I explain it, they're like, oh yeah. So just identifying it, baby, being able to identify what it is, and how it will come into you, and just kind of um like capture you in your thoughts and your minds. That's a huge silent, one of the silent killers of anything that you're trying to do, that when you're trying to be successful. um I would say another thing is, um I call it like languishing, right? So it's sort of like procrastination, or having apathy, like just being indifferent about your goal, not being serious enough, not feeling like it's urgent enough, like just saying, oh, I'll get around to it,
Right.
kind of sitting on something so long that you don't even have the desire to do it anymore,
Mm.
that you don't even, you no longer even feel it being worthy enough to pursue, because you just kind of languished on it for too
Right.
long. And
Right.
a lot of people do that because people love to be in potential, rather than actually be in the thing that rather than being in purpose, right? People love to be in potential rather than being in purpose. So I it's some for some people it's just cool for them to say, I'm working on something.
Right.
I'm working on the book. You don't ever really feel like you're gonna write it, or you cool with just saying you're working on it. To you, that's successful enough. And so some people just sit in that languishing of, "Ah, I'll get it done when I get it done." And I think that's a huge silent killer, because ultimately you lose your fire for it. And then also it's that arrogance of thinking that God is going to keep you in that space forever, that you always going to have that ability or that gift and be in that
Wow.
season to do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the arrogance of thinking you have more time than what God is actually giving you. So I think that those are the two of the things that I see. And the third one um is probably going to be just the limited beliefs,
Mm.
right? Of not seeing the fullness of what you can have and what you can do. Not believing in yourself completely, having negative thoughts, just as far as like, negative self-talk, downplaying the situation. Or I'm sorry, that's not the third. That's, to me, that's not the third. I just
That's a
realized
good
what the
one.
third biggest thing is. That's
Okay.
good,
You're
but I
right.
got a
Right. Right.
better one for you.
Okay. Okay.
It's your circle, it's your environment,
Ooh. Ooh.
your community. Yeah, because being around the wrong people will definitely stagnate you. It will definitely kill you. It will
Mm.
definitely make you feel like you're stuck, right? So not having people that support you, not having people that are like-minded, that have the same sort of mindset as you and understand where you're going, and they want well for you, they wish you well. That's definitely a silent killer, because you don't know that you may be surrounded by a bunch of Judases,
There's a bunch of haters, huh?
bunch of haters, right? And they may be conspiring against you, and you're listening to them. They have your ear, so they talk to you about things, they say things to you that trigger certain inner things in you and keep you from moving. or
Mm-hmm.
they just sabotage you on the back end.
Just
You
block it.
know, so
Ooh,
just being around those people in general keeps you stagnant, and that can be a killer.
ooh, that was good. She gave y'all four. We only asked for three, but she gave
Yeah, I
y'all
did. I
four.
get four.
No, that was good. I like it. I appreciate it. Okay, in your book, Pray for Rain, the act of praying is a symbolic and spiritual. It is symbolic and spiritual. What is the role? What role does faith play in your business decision making today?
Oh man, faith is everything.
Mm.
Faith is everything in my decision making. Um, I rarely move by what I can see,
Wow.
right? I rarely decide on what I'm doing based off of what I can see. I lived my whole life not seeing the full picture and believing there was more, and there was always more.
Wow.
So at this point, I didn't know what it was when I was younger, but now I'm fully present and I'm fully, in my spiritual, fullness. And like God is closer than close,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's right here. He's with me. And so my faith I can see now where I had faith before and didn't realize, it was faith. I didn't have language for it, but I've been raised in the church with my grandmother. She went to church all the time. But just having that belief system of believing that God is right about everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So he embedded in me a long time ago that I was meant to be an entrepreneur, that gift of entrepreneurship is not a tease, it came from him.
Right.
Right, he gave it to me, and that if I just listen and I stored him and I seek his face, he'll give me all the desires of my heart. So
Mm.
whether I can see it or not doesn't matter,
Right.
because I know that my eyes deceive me all the time. I don't trust my own thoughts. I don't trust my own sight. I trust God's.
Right.
So even when I can't see it, I pray on it, and I try to allow my faith to guide me on which way I'm going to go. And so most things are a faith move,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it don't make sense, but it make faith, so that's how I operate. And I think that most people, a lot of entrepreneurs, they leave God out of
Mm.
their business.
Yes.
They separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
I produced this thing called a mogul marketing planner.
Okay.
And I was talking to this attorney one time about the planner, and I was talking to him about purchasing it, why it was important. And I told him, I said, yeah, there's daily devotionals in there and scriptures and stuff like that. He was like, that's interesting. You put scriptures and daily devotionals in a marketing planner? And
Right.
I was like, yeah. And he was like, I would keep it separate. I said, why would you do that?
That's
You
good.
want it to be successful, right?
Right.
Whatever you're writing, whatever you're marketing, whatever your plan is for your business, you want it to do well. So why
Right.
would you leave God out again? Explain that to me.
Wow.
Um, so people think differently. People, they separate the two, which is a huge problem I see with entrepreneurs. And so but for me, everything in my life has been about my just belief in God, trusting in him that he's going to do what he said that he would do. And
How
so
do
that's,
you
I keep faith in everything.
believe me? I do too, 100%. But how do you discern between divine delay and a closed door?
So sometimes you got to sit still for a while to
Mm.
determine that it
Right.
is a closed door and not just a delay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't know initially, right?
Right.
Like sometimes you're like, you need God to give you discernment on this. Like, is this something that you want me to do later, or is this something that I shouldn't do at all? What I find is that a lot of times, everything that you encounter, God is going to make he's going to make provisions for. It's going to make sense later. So even
Right.
though, so if it's something that you were introduced to, there's something that's supposed to come out of it. It's something that he's going to get glory from that in some
Right.
sort of way. And so it may not be the way you intended it. So you got to be okay with, the fact that the door may not look the way you think it's going to look.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it may not be a closed door. it may be just a different entryway, right?
Right.
It may be a different door that you didn't realize that you were going to be going through, and you have to accept that it's not the door you thought it was going to be.
Right.
And sometimes divine delays are pivotal and important in our growth. Like me taking 8 years, it's taking me 8 years to open my salon was a divine delay. I
Right.
needed that time. I thought I was
Okay.
ready, but
Right.
I could not have anticipated what entrepreneurship was going to be like
Mm.
until I was in it.
Right.
And so some things we gain from experience if we don't have the right mentorships and coaches. And so just kind of you not really knowing initially which one is which, and just sitting still in it, trusting it and looking for the signs, praying for clarity on which way to go with this. Is this a closed door? And sometimes you got to ask yourself, like, is the thing that you're doing, is does it serve God in a way? Do you have confirmation that this is what you were supposed to be doing in the first place?
Mm.
You have to ask yourself certain questions. Is it righteous? you know is it going to help people? So there's things that you should ask yourself about what it is that you're doing, and that may help you to define if it's a door that's closed or if it's just a delay. But either way, you got to pray on it, and you got to wait for direction. And sometimes people hate sitting still. They hate waiting in silence.
Don't we all?
um but it's part of the process.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you 100%. So look, I can talk to you all day because you be throwing out jewels. I got a million questions for you, but I'm gonna have to get you back on the show another time. But right now, I got some rapid fire questions. One word answers or
Mhm.
quick thoughts to help you uh, to help us get through. That's okay with you?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
One book every entrepreneur should read besides your own.
The Bible.
Okay, besides the Bible, because the Bible is a must for me. I agree. But besides the Bible,
Right.
we trying to get into some of that entrepreneurial brain, something that
uh
sparked and woke you up.
I love David and Goliath by
David.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay, oh, yeah. A quote or mantra that you live by.
The way in which you do anything is the way in which you do everything.
First business idea you ever launched, which was a salon. Um, do you still have it?
No, I
No.
closed it in 2020. It was after 6 years.
Serial entrepreneur. She keeps it moving. Morning or night? When do your best ideas come to you?
Morning.
Okay. I was expecting night. Okay. Wealth or legacy? What do you prioritize first?
um those be like right there with each other. Legacy.
I was getting ready to say because the first question I asked you, it led all to legacy, so I'm sure it's legacy. All right.
Yeah.
So, um, final question, then I'm gonna get so we can get the people your stuff and what they know where to find you. If a listener is sitting on a God idea but feels under resourced, what's the first bold step you suggest they take this week?
Get them a coach.
Get a coach.
Or a mentor
Okay,
in that
how
in that
how
in that area of what it is that they want to do.
even if they're under resources, because most coaches has a price.
Well, I mean, you can either that or start to follow the person that you,
Okay,
if you find a coach or mentor, you can start to follow them, and I'm sure that they have some sort of resource online. They have social media where they give content or information. They just have to start doing the research to find out, certain things on their own if they are under resource.
or say or follow you and just get the jewels that she drop on Instagram and anywhere else that
Right.
she's
Because
at.
I have a book, I
That's
have
my
free
point.
resources, free courses that people can take. Everything is not, a financial thing. I mean,
So
there
tell
there
us
are
where we
some
can
stuff
find
that
you.
are.
Tell
So
the
where they
audience
can
where we can
find me?
find you. Yes, ma'am.
So you can find me on my website is iamcoachtanice.com. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook at Coach Tanice. And You could also email me, which is Taneice at coachtaneice.com. As long as you have the first name of my name spelled correctly, you will find me anywhere. So that's Taneice. Yep, at Coach Taneice for social media. I am coachtaneice.com. And then what else did I say? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Social media. Oh, and my email, like I said, is Taneice at coachtaneice.com if you needed to email me.
Well, thank you very much for coming on today, Coach Taneice. I appreciate it. You dropped some gems. I would love to have you back because I got a line of questions I can keep asking you because you just, ooh, you be giving out the jewels. But y'all know what I like to say. Stay real, stay raw, stay grounded in your faith. Until the next time, y'all, I'm out.